Good. I hope all your professors are acting like that. Well, not really. You're having a really rough time. Okay, I guess we're recording. All right. So let's value a bond real quick. We did it last time. Let's go ahead and value one. Let's say it's a $200,000 bond. So this is on the face of the bond, right? Printed on the bond. It's a $200,000 bond. You guys should be able to do this by now. Let's say that the interest rate that's stated on the bond is 8%. Okay? And let's say that it's semi-annual. What does that mean? Twice a year. So how much interest are you going to pay twice a year? 4%, really, right? So it's going to be 4% of 200,000, which is how much? 200,000. 4%. Not 8,000. 4 times 2, you guys. Okay? 8,000? Are we good? All right. And then let's say it's for, let's make it a 10-year. Okay? What does that mean? How many payment periods are we going to have? How many times are they going to pay it? N equals what, in other words? 20. Excellent, guys. So you know what the annuity is, and you know what the number of periods is, right? Now, am I going to use that interest rate for discounting? Only if that's the market rate, and then the bond is going to be worth exactly $200,000. If it's paying interest at 200, or if it's paying interest at 8%, and the market wants 8%, it's worth its face amount, right? It's paying exactly the right amount of interest. But let's say instead that the market or yield, I might say market, yield, right, or effective. All means the same thing, right? Got that last time? Effective. But the effective rate built into it is, or the market requires, right? Or the yield is what it yields. All those mean the same thing. So some finance terminology, huh, you guys? People use those terms interchangeably. So I'll throw one of them on the quiz. That's what it means, okay? So market, let's say the market equals 10%. Let's do that. Okay, now what are you going to have to do with the market rate, seeing as it's semi-annual? Yeah, just like we had to cut the interest that's going to be paid in half, of course, the discount rate would be cut in half too, because it's every 6 months instead of every year. So that's going to be what? 5% per semi-annual. Value it, you guys. Go. How fast can you value this thing? By the time I write it down, you guys should have this value. If you could do this, you got 4 points already on the quiz. We're looking at about 55 points maybe. 40 to 50 points maybe for the rest of the course. No, you can't. Okay, we got it? What factor am I going to use up here? I got a future value of a sum 20 periods from now, right? I want to know the present value. It's the present value of a sum factor, isn't it? Present value of $1. 5% is the discount rate, is it? Everybody agree? Okay, you agree that it's 20 periods? So what's the factor? What's $1 worth discounted at 5%, 20 periods? What's it worth right now?
0.3769.
3769. If you invest 38 cents for 20 periods, compound at 5%, it will grow to $1. Am I right, guys? So each one of these is only worth 38 cents. So what's 200 times 0.3769?
75,380.
How many of you had the 75,380 written down on your paper? Oh no. What are you doing? We did this in the last chapter, didn't we? And we did it last time we were in class. Come on, come on, come on, okay? We're going to make you guys valuable. You guys are the survivors. We are going to make you valuable. Let yourself become valuable, okay? Don't say you can't do it. Figure it out. What's the deal here? This is $8,000. It's not really $8,000, is it? How many payments are there of $8,000? How many payments are there in 10 years? If you do it every 6 months? 20. What's 20 times 8,000, you guys? What's the total interest on this deal? It's $160,000. This bond is going to pay off $200,000 face plus $160,000 of interest. Does everybody agree? Okay, the $200,000 face is worth $75,380, isn't it? What's the interest worth? What's the factor? Now this is an ordinary annuity factor, isn't it? So it's that annuity factor, present value of an annuity. How many periods? 20. Interest rate, 5%. What's the factor? Way too many of you don't have a book in front of you. You can use your calculator to calculate this, I don't care. Right, it's fine, but you're going to get the same answer, right? Real close, within a few bucks. Okay, so what's 20 periods, 5% on that ordinary annuity table?
12.4622.
12.4622. What's worth $12.46? $20 is. Received $1 at the end of each period for 20 periods, right? That whole $20, if you take interest out of it, if you suck the interest out of it at 5%, it's going to be worth $12.46. If you invested $12.46 in an account that pays 10% interest, 5% every 6 months, right? You could do what? 5%. You could do what? Every 6 months, take out $1. For 26 months periods, you get $20 back for your investment at $12.56. How much interest would there, or $12.46? How much interest would there be? I guess $7.54. Wow. How much interest are you going to earn off the $75,380 that you invest? It's the difference between $200,000 and the 75, right? Okay, so what's that? Yeah, but I don't get $1 12 times, or 20 times. What do I get? 8,000, right? 8,000 20 times. So what's 8,000 times 12.4622?
99,690.
Now, if you try to memorize this and then just have it work, it's not going to work. If you understand what you're doing, this becomes easy. It's just simple, you guys. Once you understand, get yourself to a point of understanding. What's the whole bond worth then? If the principal's worth $75,000 and the interest is worth $100,000, I bet it's about $175,000. What do you bet? Add the two together and that's it. That's it. Okay, how much is it? 175. 176? No, 175. 078. Ta-da! Now, that's perfect, you guys. Bunch of points for being able to do that. You work it till you can do it, okay? And then you're gonna, when you know what, you're gonna be better on the last chapter too, aren't you? Yeah, because now you can do present values. Got it? You just got to worry about the future value side a little bit, which is the same stuff, really. Okay, now, did this bond sell? If it sells for that, the person issuing it, that's how much money they get, right? That's how much they borrow. Everybody agree? That's what they sell it for. The person investing or buying it, right, or lending the money, all the same person, right? How much are they going to pay? That amount, right? That's what it's going to sell for. Is this going for a discount or a premium? What's a discount? It's less than the face. What's a discount at the store? It's less than the normal sales price. What's a premium at the store? More. You rarely see that, but you know what? When I bought that little Miata I drive around in, because my wife was cute in it, she put one on the refrigerator for 2 years, and I finally just, okay, fine. 30,000, 2 seats. Best car I've ever had. Wonderful car. Anyway, I'm going to be buried in it. Probably going to wreck it and it's wrapped around me and go up the planes. But anyway, yeah, it's really kind of tough. But yeah, it wouldn't be a bad way to go. 90 years old, go around the curves. Anyway, when we went to buy the car, it was the year that Toyota brought their little two-seater out, their little sports car thing. And then Honda brought theirs out. And then there was the Miata, and they made way too many Miatas, made a whole bunch of them, because they didn't think Toyota and Honda were going to get theirs out. So they were all within $4,000 of each other, list price. So we went and looked at the Honda. They wanted an extra $6,000 added onto the sticker price because they were so popular. The Toyota wanted an extra $3,000 added on. The Mazda, we took $7,000 off the sticker price. All of a sudden, it was a $10,000 difference in these cars, or more. Guess what we bought? The Mazda, right? The other ones were new and they were hot and they were cool. The Mazda's a great car. Okay? So do some things sell for a discount and some things sell for a premium? Sure. Right? Depends on how much demand there is for it, isn't it? Right? That's the deal. Okay, so this is going to be a what, guys? Discount. Guess what we're going to call the discount when we have an account for it? What are we going to call it? Cleverly, discount. What would be selling it for a premium? Anything more than what? $200,000. And then we'll call that a what? Premium. Brilliant. Right? You got it? You can do this, can't you? Okay, yeah. Excellent question. Wow, that's fantastic. I like that. Did everybody have that question? I mean, he hasn't done anything intelligent the entire semester. It's pretty good. Yeah, I like that. No. Only one laughing. Well, you're laughing too. That's good. A couple are. Okay, anyway. All right, guys. No, that's a great question. That's a great question. Let's do it, you guys. Let's record this, and let's record it on both sides. This is not really hard once you understand. Really, it's not. Let's say it's the first day. Let's say this thing is January 1st, year one, like it. Okay? And I won't make it be, 6 months later or 2.5 months later or something. We'll do that in a later class. We'll bother you with that stuff. Okay? It just makes it a little more complicated. All right, anyway, that's the first day. The first day of the bond. It's being issued. Okay? Let's do it on the issuer's books. Okay? And the author does all this stuff, but, they do it and it's really hard to pick up when you're just reading it, I think. Issuer, and let's do the investor. That's an N. Honest. Let's do both sides. Fantastic. That's great. Let's record what they would do for journal entries on both sides. I want to ask you this. The issuer gets how much cash? No, they don't get $200,000. They didn't borrow $200,000. How much did they borrow? Yeah, it's only going to be $175, right? Yeah. So debit cash. 175,078. I make fun of you guys when you don't give me the right answer. Does that mean you shouldn't answer anymore? Oh, hell no. It's just fun, right? Always answer. When your boss asks the question, if you think you know the answer, you answer the question. Let them make fun of you, and then they'll think this person has a lot of confidence and is learning a lot. That's what they'll think. They won't think you don't know what you're doing. Or fire you. Yeah. They might say, geez, like I do, right? And then they'll show you how. Right? And then you know. Well, you know what? Let's do the other side. How much cash does the investor invest? 175. What do you bet you debit cash if you receive it and you credit cash if you give it up? That's a joke. You guys know that. Okay. Now what we're going to do is if I am issuing the bond, I record the bond as a bond what? I'm borrowing money here. I'm borrowing money. I'm getting the money. I'm going to pay it back later. It is a liability, but I don't call it notes payable because it's a bond. So I call it what? Bonds payable. You guys know what a payable is? Of course you do. It's a liability. You know what a bond is? Sure you do now. You just read the chapter. Bonds payable, right? For the full amount. We do this one for the full amount, just by convention. We do it for the full amount, okay? What's the difference between the 200,000 and the 75,020 or 78? What is that, you guys? 24, 9, 22, is that right? What is that? No, it's going to be. Later it's going to be more interest expense, but it's not yet because time hasn't gone by yet. What is it now? What do we call the difference? I sold this at a what? Discount. I call it a discount. It's a discount on bonds payable. Got it? Now that's a new account. What kind of an account is it? It goes with the bond payable. The bond payable is a what? Liability. The discount on bonds payable has a debit balance in it. What do you think it is? And it goes with the liability. It's a contra liability. Yes! See, all this just fits together, doesn't it? Use what you already know. Don't memorize something new. Okay? So yes, debit discount on bonds payable. That, and you're right, that's interest. Extra interest I'm going to pay. I am only borrowing $175,000. I'm paying what? 180 in interest, was that what it was? No, 160 in interest, plus I'm going to pay him 200 principal, right? When I give him the 200 principal, am I giving him an extra 24,922 of interest? Yes. But I'm going to spread the expense across the 20 periods. So all we're doing, right? Because I don't have the expense now. I just borrowed it. Got the idea? Okay, and I don't want to put the expense in the last 6 months period, right? I want to spread it out over the term because that's when I really have the expense. Okay, good. Remember, we want to match up revenues and expenses, right? Record the revenues when we earn them and record the expenses when we incur them. That's all we're doing here. Still doing that. It's just got more complex. Okay, on the other side, it looks easier, and I guess it is in a way. By convention, we just debit investment in held to maturity, that's an H, held to maturity bonds. Investment in held to maturity bonds. This is if I'm going to hold the bond for its entire life, or I think I'm going to when I buy it. Okay? Got the idea? When I invest in it. So for the investor, or the purchaser, right, or the lender, whatever you want to call them, they're debiting investment in held to maturity bonds, which is what kind of an account? Another new account. What do you think it is? It's an investment. Come on, what is it? And I'm debiting. What is this thing? It's an asset, of course. It's a long-term investment. It's an asset. You got it. Absolutely right. Everybody in the room knew that, and nobody said it. That should have been everybody saying it's an asset right out loud. Of course it is. You bought something that's going to give you interest income into the future. It's an asset, isn't it? Sure, it's going to earn for you in the future. Excellent, guys. Okay, now it gets harder. That was the easy part. That's annoying, isn't it? Okay, let's say June 30th, year 1, is the first interest payment. Now, I'll slow down just a little. By the way, is everybody pretty good so far? Those aren't bad, are they? Kind of make sense? Okay, this is going to make sense too, but it's a little harder to get your head around. What's going to happen if I borrow? 6 months goes by and I have to do what? I promised to do what? Pay the interest. I'm going to pay the interest. Let's do that first. I'm going to pay the interest. How much interest am I going to pay? We already calculated it. What was it? $8,000, right? The interest we're paying is the $8,000. I mean, that's what we valued when we did the present value, right? $8,000 every 6 months for 26-month periods. We're going to pay that $160,000 spread out, right? Over 26-month periods. Everybody good? So what do we want to do? We want to pay it out. What's it going to be? Debit or credit for the issuer of the bond? Aren't they paying it? You borrowed money. It's going to be a credit, isn't it? Credit cash how much? $8,000. Guess what the people who invest in the bond are going to have happen to them? They receive the cash. Of course they do, right? So they're going to debit cash, aren't they? Everybody good? For exactly the same amount. Okay, now why am I paying the interest if I'm the issuer? Because I borrowed money, and the cost of borrowing the money is the interest on it. And I'm using that money to buy land, building equipment, and I'm generating revenues and all that, right? So what's the cost of borrowing the money called? Interest expense. Yes. We got it. It's interest, and it's an expense because it's a cost of getting revenues. Everybody agree with that? You know what expenses are, and you know what interest is, don't you? Just put them together. Interest expense. Okay, and we've been doing that right from the beginning of the class, haven't we? Right? It's just that it takes so long for it to gel, doesn't it? To really start understanding. But once you do, you got it made. The next piece fits in, the next piece fits in. So, by the way, do you debit or credit interest expense to record it? It's an expense. What do you do? Debit it, of course. So we're going to debit interest expense here. Okay. They're paying me interest if I invested in the bond, and I invest in the bond to earn that interest, didn't I? What do you want to call interest you earned? But not receivable. That's if they haven't paid me yet. Interest revenue or interest income, right? If they didn't pay me yet, it'd be interest receivable. But they're paying me, aren't they? I'm debiting cash. So it's interest revenue. And by the way, do you debit or credit interest revenue to increase it? Revenues? Credits. Yeah. So you guys know this stuff, don't you? If I can just get you to start using what you know and writing it down on a piece of paper, grades are going to skyrocket. Okay? That's what we want. All right, here we go. Now the hard thing. How much interest expense is there? How much did you borrow? 175. You got 175, right? They invested 175. That's how much was borrowed and how much was invested. What interest rate is the effective or yield or market rate here? What's really being earned? What's really being paid? I think it's the 5. 10 a year and 5 every 6 months. Yes. It's not the 4, is it? It's not that 8% stated rate. That's just to determine the cash flow. Everybody see it? That's just printed on the bond. It doesn't mean anything really. It's just it tells you how much cash is going to change hands. Everybody got it? So yeah, it's 5% or 175. Exactly right. That's how much you have borrowed. So what I would do is I would take 175 times 5%. I'm not kidding. So it's hard, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's logical, huh? Well, it is logical. You just have to put it all together. What's 175,078 times 0.05, guys? 8754. All right. That's how much interest what there is. Expense. And what else there is? Interest revenue. You guys got it. Did you notice my journal entry does not balance? Yeah, it's a terrible problem. Okay, how do we do this? What the deal is this discount, listen to this one carefully, that discount, just like the man up here in the front said, is additional interest over the life of the bond. It is, isn't it? At the end, I'm going to pay that extra $25,000, aren't I? I'm going to pay the whole $200 back. So what I'm going to do is I am going to amortize the discount over the life of the bond, which means just write it off over the life. It's kind of like depreciation, amortization of goodwill. It's sort of the same idea, sort of. What I'm going to do is I'm going to credit discount on bonds payable. Look at that. For how much, obviously? 754. And now instead of having 24,922 in there, I'm going to have 754 less. Everybody agree? All right. What's going to happen over here on the other side? I need to debit something for 754. On this side, for the investor, the investment is in there at 175,078. Does everybody see that? But by the end, how much do I want that amount to be? What's going to be paid off at the end? 200. So I want to keep raising it until it gets to 200 over the 20 payment periods. That's all it is. So I'm going to debit the investment in held to maturity bonds. And you know what? This is going to held to maturity bonds. Yeah, it is. That 175, when I do this 20 times, I'm not going to put in only 874. It's going to be more next time, or 754. It's going to be more the next time, and more the next time, and more the next time. And by the time I get done, I will have eliminated this entire 24,922 discount. Will go to zero, and I'll have just the 200 left. And what will happen here is this 175,078 will grow until it is 200. Right? So in both cases, it's going to be 200 carrying value of the bond. Got it? Okay? Sort of. Got to do this a few times before you see it. There's the first one, right? That's the first one. And after we do, by the way, after we do that 20 times, exactly what's going to happen is this discount is going to disappear. There'll be zero. And what's 200 less zero now? 200. Everybody see it? This 175,078, what's going to happen to it if I keep increasing it 20 times? And it's getting to be a bigger number each time I increase it by, right? Because really what I'm doing is I'm borrowing the interest. I'm adding the interest to the amount I have borrowed. Make sense? Or adding the interest to the amount I have invested on either side of the deal. And it just keeps growing, okay? So when I get done, this investment held in maturity bonds is going to have 200,000, and then you just pay it off. Okay? Simple entry at the end. All right, let's do one more month then, or one more 6-month period. And this gets a little bit harder. So let's give ourselves some T accounts here to see where we're at. Okay, bond payable. How much did we put into bond payable, gang? 200. How much do we have in discount? Don't anybody check out, right? Mentally. Don't do it. Stay with me. You can get this. Discount on bonds payable is how much? When we started, it was 24,922. Everybody agree?
It was 24,092.
No. 9. That's a 9. Up here. That's a 24,922 in my world, right? Okay. Agree? It's almost 25,000. Okay, good. All right. So what's the difference between those two? Of course. It's 175,078. We know that, don't we? Right? Okay. What would we have over here on the investor's side? We have investment and held to maturity bonds, don't we? How much in there, guys? 175,078. Everybody agree?
It says for investment held to maturity.
Investment in held to maturity, I'm holding it the whole time, bonds. Investment in held to maturity bonds. You'll see it over and over in the chapter. Those of you who read it, he talks about it a lot. Both sides. Bonds payable and investment held to maturity bonds. Right? You'll see it again when you look at it again. Okay. I know it's easy to read this stuff and it just kind of goes right over it, huh? Yeah. And you have to pound through again. And, yeah, I know. While you're working problems. Okay, so now what happens here, guys? We had the 6 months go by and we recorded this, right? So now what do we have? Let's see. The discount got credited for $754. So that's the first one. Everybody agree? See what I did there? That's just taking this $754 and putting it down here. Everybody good? Just posting it. What's the balance in discount and bonds payable now? 24,922, right? Debit, less a credit of 754. How much is it now? You guys have to do that for me. It's way beyond my next.
168.
No, 168. Okay, so you can see it's going down, right? It's going to go down to 0 over the 20 payments. Okay, good. So that's a 24,168. What's the difference between 200,000 and 24,168? That's the new carrying value, right? Because you're going to have bonds payable on your balance sheet as a liability, and less the discount of 24,168 is the carrying value of the bond. Everybody got it? That's what you're going to show. It's just like equipment less accumulated depreciation. Everybody got the idea of this? Or accounts receivable less allowance for doubtful accounts. You take the 200,000 less the discount is what your carrying value is. Everybody good? And the carrying value is going to keep going up, isn't it? Every time you do some amortization of the discount. It's going to keep going up until it gets to 200,000. So what is the difference between those two? 175,832. So this bond started at 175,078, and now it's at 175,832. Everybody see that? Let's do the same thing on the other side. What would the investor have on their set of books, right? These are two separate companies, right? Okay. What would the investor do? They'd debit 754 to the investment, wouldn't they? It's doing the same thing. What's the carrying value of the bond now? What's 175,078 plus 754? 175,832. Do you see that both of them stay at exactly the same point?
Did you record that on the issuer side? The 175.
Oh, no, you don't need to. On the issuer's side, you have the 200,000 in your general ledger, right, in the bond. See it there? And you have the 724,168 in their general ledger. And what they're going to put on their balance sheet is the 200 bond payable less the 24,168. So they are going to show the bond at 175,832. That's the net carrying value of the bond. On the other side, on the investors' books, they just have investment held to maturity bonds at 175,832. But they still agree, don't they? It's just by convention we show the bond at its full amount, its face amount, less the discount on the issuers, and we show the investment at whatever it is on the investors. I don't know why I did it. It doesn't make any sense to have it different on both sides, but that's how it's been done, okay? It still is, okay? People are used to that. They think something was wrong with it. We changed now, I suppose. Okay, so calculate the interest for the second 6 months for me. And if you can do that, you got it made, you guys, because then you can do them all. You can do all 20 of them now. What's it going to be? What's the carrying value of the bond? 175,832. What we did was we added the 754 interest that we just borrowed. Look at this. My expense is 8,754. My cash paid was 8,000. I borrowed another 754, so I added it to the carrying value of the bond. I owe them more. Got it? Over here, I earned 8,754, right? If I'm the investor. They only paid me 8. I added 754 to my investment because they're going to pay me it later. They are. They're going to give me the whole 200 later. That's the theory of this thing. Okay? Effective interest method, we call this. The effective interest. What's that? They're going to pay the whole 200 at the end. No. They just pay 8,000 every period. Right? And in the end, they're going to give them the whole 200 when they only borrow 175. Extra 25 paid at the end. Right? Good. Okay. It's just hard to get your head around this all at once. So what's the interest going to be, you guys? How much is borrowed? 175,832. What's the interest rate? 5%. Don't switch back to that 4. That's a real common mistake, right? It's not the stated rate, it's the effective rate. Whatever you discount it at is what you compound at. You know what? If you discount it at 5%, then you compound it at 5%, it goes away. That's it. Whatever you discount at, you compound at. Right? It unravels the deal. And that's what's happening. Okay, so what's 175,832, either one of these, times 5%? What's that, guys?
8792.
8792. And you can see it's a little more than the 8754 the time before, huh? Why? We have a little more borrowed. It'll keep getting bigger. Got the idea? Write the journal entry for me. It's exactly the same accounts, guys. Exactly, guys and gals, I guess. That's a neuter term, right? Guys. Okay. Okay. It's exactly the same entry. Now we're at December 31st, year 1. December 31st, year 1. It's going to be exactly the same entry with different amounts. So guess what you're going to debit if you're the issuer? Yeah. Guess what you're going to credit? Cash and discounts on bond payables, just for different amounts. What's the cash payment going to be every time? It's going to be $8,000. Okay. What if you're the issuer or the investor? What are you going to debit? Cash for $8,000. What are you going to else are you going to debit? Investment in held to maturity bonds for the amortization, and then credit what? Interest revenue. Do it, you guys. Write your amounts down. How much the interest expenses and interest revenue? Same number. You do, don't you? You calculate it. You know what the amortization of the discount is then? It's the difference in it every time. You do this. You do this on a quiz, test, a final. Okay? Lots of points here. Grades just bump. Okay? This is a really good class, you guys. I'm not doing a good job. You guys are. Everybody in this room is listening to me and shaking their head yes or looking puzzled or something. Connected, right? Keep doing that. And by the way, start doing it in every single one of your classes and you will all be real good students. All it is, nobody's, well, maybe there's some people, we hate them. Okay, yeah, nobody's really brilliant. People just work hard. Keep your head into it, you keep focused, you stay after it, right? And it'll come, it'll come, it'll come. And it is hard, it hurts your head, right? Don't ever do a PhD, it's really painful. Oh man, crazy people, right? But, you want to know stuff, right? What's really fun when you do a PhD is you're supposed to discover knowledge nobody knows yet. Oh my gosh, yeah. Luckily they passed me without me knowing anything, so we're good. Okay. Anyway, what do you think, guys? Debit what into interest expense? How much? I love it. 8792. Guess what you want to credit interest revenue for? 8792. Right, guys? Okay. What are you going to credit discount on bonds payable for? Yeah. Please make your journal entry balance. Okay. What are you going to debit investment held to maturity bonds for? Could we do the next 6 months? Of course. Just repeat it. What if we do it 20 times? It'll take a while. I know it's annoying. You know what? In an Excel spreadsheet, it's instantaneous. You build a little spreadsheet, just calculate them all the way down. Does something to that. Can you? Sure, I don't care. You can make your own up and do it. I'm not going to make you do 20 periods. I'm going to make you do 1 or 2. Right. I won't go any further than this. Okay. So I wouldn't do a spreadsheet for us. Yeah, not for 2 of them. Let's say we've done that. Let's say we go all the way through. Oh, by the way, let's go ahead and post this. What happens? The discount here is $7.92, right? See that? The credit to the discount. What's left in the discount now? 24,168 less 792, right guys? How much is that? What's this number? 24, which 23? Just keep trying to do things in your head, don't you? You're going to get cured of that.
I mean, I did it the other way.
Oh, okay. Whatever that means. 24,168 less 792. What was it, guys? 23 what? 376. What's the carrying value now? 200 less 23, 376. It just got bigger, right? And then over here, we're going to debit investment in held to maturity bonds for 792, right? And we add those two together. What's the carrying value over here? 200 less 23, 376 is what? 175. Oh, got to be adding. I'm subtracting. Way to go, Keith.
That's what I.
176. Went the wrong direction. I see what you mean. 176. It's a really logical mistake because I made it. Yeah, no, it's not. It's an awful mistake. 176 what? 624. Is that what both of them were? Both sides? I sure hope so. It is, isn't it? Everybody good? Okay, after I do this 20 times, let's say I debited that discount 20 times, and I debited investment held to maturity 20 times for all 20 payments. What is left in discount on bonds payable at that point? What will it be, you guys, after doing it 20 times? What's going to be left in there? Zero. And what will be my carrying amount if I have a $200,000 bond less zero discount? 200. And what will be over here? If I keep adding to the 176, 624, I do it 18 more times. I know you could read that. Anyway, you keep adding 18 times. What's it going to grow to? 200. We're brilliant. Okay, so now what will we do? Hope I asked for this on the quiz. At the very end, after doing all the interest payments at the very end, whatever date that is, what would be my entry? I owe $200,000 to somebody. What will I do? Give them the cash of $200,000. Excellent. And what do you want to debit? There's nothing left in the discount. It's all in the bond payable account. What do you want to debit? Bond payable. I'll probably even give you a couple points for doing this. You like it? Okay, and what would be on the other side, of course? They gave me the cash. What would I do? Debit cash. Excellent. And what would I credit, everybody? It's not a bond receivable. Don't call it a bond receivable because we don't. We call it an investment in bonds. And that's what it really is. It's not a bond receivable. I didn't loan money in that sense, right? I invested in a bond that's going to pay me interest over its life. That's why I invested, right? So what do you want to credit? Seeing as we called it an investment in held to maturity bonds, what would be a good thing to credit? The investment in held to maturity bonds. You got it, guys. Excellent. How much? $200,000. Yes! And we are done. If you can do that for a bond with a discount and for a bond with a premium, you are going to get a whole bunch of points. And besides that, you are going to know what you're doing when you go to work. Which is more important, a few points in this stupid little class, or knowing what you're doing when you go to work? Well, at this moment for you guys, it's a few points in this class. What do you think is important to me? That you know what you're doing when you go to work. That's it, right? I know you have other classes that are making you be a good person. This one is not going to make you be a good person. This one is going to make you a richer person. And I hope that you're still a good person from taking theology and philosophy and everything else, right? And you share your wealth with everybody else, right? Because you're going to have some. We're suffering through this. It's nice. I saw a thing, somebody posted an article out on Facebook from NPR or somebody, I don't know what it was. NPR. Somebody like that. Anyway, if you make over $100,000 a year, you're in the top 10% income earners in this country. Wow. I mean, it's hard to believe, isn't it? 100,000. You guys have been making that 5 to 7 years after you graduated. You worked your asses off right from school. Share, okay? You're going to do relatively well. If you make over, I think it was 250,000, you make over that, you're in the top 1% wage earners. Remember, the billionaires don't work, right? They're not doing investments, and they're all by themselves. But of wage earners, yeah, over 250, you're in the top 1%. I never thought about it. And I wasted all the money on women. Oh, God. Okay, anyway, that's sad. I wasn't there very long, a year or two. You got this, you guys? Can you do it? Okay, let's do one more thing. We got a few minutes, don't we? We got 10 minutes. All right, I want you guys to do this. I want you to calculate. I've used one slide. Let's use a whole nother slide. Okay, anyway, let's do one that's maybe a premium. It's the same $200,000 bond. Got it? This is the face. 200,000. What did I say the interest rate was? We'll use the same one. It was 8? No. It was 8. I'm sorry, I apologize. Okay, and that gave us what? Well, you guys can figure that out. Okay, and then semi-annual. Let's keep it that. Okay. And then I said 10-year, right? Okay, so we'll use that. But now let's make the effective or market or yield, right? Let's make that rate be what? More or less than 8% if it sells for a premium. Why do you sell for a discount? Because the market wanted more than the bond was paying. So nobody wanted it, so we drove the price down. That's it, right? Because you're bid and ask, right? Somebody's bidding and somebody's asking, and you meet, and the price went down. What's going to happen here? If I have an interest rate in the market that's less, let's make it 6%. You have 3% on your tables? You do, don't you? Okay, 6%? That work? If the market only wants 6 and it pays 8, everybody wants it. They drive the price up until it what? Pays 6. Okay? Calculate it, you guys. Calculate the value of this bond for me. What's the present value of that bond? Could you do it? This one's going to be a what? Discount or a premium? As soon as everybody loves it, they're going to drive the price up. Premium. Good. And then you can make the journal if you do if you want. I mean, it's really quick. We'll do that another time. We're going to start a new chapter tomorrow, don't we? Or Monday, Friday. Next time you try it off. I do want, but we better not. Because I want every day off. So. My wife can't have you. No. So you really read the next chapter, right? Okay? We can start doing next time, though. But we'll have a review soon when we do this. I know you can work the ones on the quiz and test and know what you're doing. Try to work with them. Pay off. Not while you were doing it, but now. Yeah, now. That's the whole point. Right? Like, if you're doing that, do it all your classes. You're not going to always do it when you try to do problems. Nobody does. Now we do. Yeah. Now everybody. Okay. Everybody do that. I just tell them your face to it. Because you're not looking over there, you're looking there. It's easy. You guys have a number?
22972.
Everybody agree?
A plus is right.
Do we want to work it? Who doesn't have it? Be honest. Who does not have that number? Okay, let's do it. Okay, let's do it. That's because I talked to you and screwed you up. Okay, so here we go. What's the future value 20 periods from now, you guys? It's 20 periods, right? 10-year semi-annual is N equals 20. And what's the interest rate that we're going to discount at, you guys? 3%, right? 3% every 6 months. Everybody agree? Cut it in half. Okay, so the future value 20 periods from now is 200,000. And then we want to get its present value at time 0. So what's that going to be? Interest rate is what? 3%. Number of periods is 20. Go look up the factor or plug it into your calculator or calculate it. Either way. It's 1 over 1.03 raised to the 20th, isn't it? What's the factor, King? So each one's worth 55 cents. These are worth more than the one in the last problem. Why? There's less interest. Yeah, there's less interest. It's going to end up with a premium. So what's this going to be? 110 or something? Excellent. That's what the principal's worth. And then the annuity, this is an ordinary annuity payment, right, guys? You don't have to worry about ordinary yet, but for those of you who are going to be finance or accounting majors, I want you to start calling it ordinary. It's the end of the period, right? Actually, when you take your finance class 315, they're going to do annuity due and ordinary anyway, so you might as well know it, even if you're not an accounting or finance major. So how much is that? 8,000 each time, right, guys? 8 times 200, not, is 16,000 a year, but it's half a year, isn't it? So 4% is how much? Still 8,000. Okay, so it's $8,000, 20 times, which is 160,000. What's the factor for the annuity? Interest rate 3%, N equals 20, and I want a present value. 837? 775. Okay? 14.8775. That times 8,000 is what? That's what the $20 is worth, right? If you see the dollar at the end of each period for 20 periods. Yeah. Okay. So how much is that?
119,020.
What's the total? Okay. Only a couple people raised their hand that they didn't have that, but I bet more didn't. Always own up. Big deal. Admit to yourself you didn't know how to do it, right? Or couldn't do it fast enough. Practice. Okay, what I want you to do as soon as you can, do the journal entries for this one, right? This time you have a premium instead of a discount. Okay? This time you got a premium instead of a discount. Do the entries. I bet you don't even have to look it up. Right? Your debit to cash is going to be $229,760, and your credit to bonds payable is $200. Guess what you're going to have to credit for $29,760? Premium on bonds payable, and you're on your way. The other side, the investment in held maturity bonds is $230, and you're going to gradually reduce it to $200. Big deal. Yeah, go do it. Yeah, bonds are even got it. That's the bonds. Yeah. Did I send you an email? Okay, on the email it's about the times. Yeah. And they're mostly open. Only a couple of people have come in. Tomorrow, oh here, I can take it. 3:30. Let's see. I got it. David?